Hello, listener. Suyana here with Chapter 15 entitled Commitment from the All-Inclusive Approach, the Art of Divine Remembrance. I recently had a thought-provoking conversation with a friend about manifestation and being available for that which you desire to come into fruition. We wove the thread of thought from the lack of what you want in your current reality to the importance of visualizing and feeling the fruits of your labor as if it had already happened. Not in an effort to mentally create the desired outcome, but to identify the emotional states associated with the manifestation of that thing. Most people who are in this process of implementing and embodying the principles and concepts of the law of attraction and other similar ideologies like vision boards or affirmations, are familiar with these core concepts. Many people try to utilize these methods of interacting with their environments to create a reality that is more fulfilling, abundant, joyous, and overall better than their current reality. Why wouldn't we have this built-in desire for more? After all, we are in an ever-expanding universe that is growing and evolving as each of its parts, us and all that exists within it, continues to experience this path of creation. But if this is the case, why are so many of us, like my friend, feeling unfulfilled, unsuccessful, frustrated, confused, and disappointed? For me, and maybe this will apply to you, when I attempted to apply these practices with the intention of changing my circumstances, I lacked commitment and clarity. I lacked the consistent momentum of applied positive action that is required to experience the manifestation of my dreams. You might argue that you are indeed very committed. Perhaps you recite a gratitude list every morning and before bed. You meditate for 30 minutes a day without fail. You think positive thoughts and so forth. Yet, at the end of the day, your reality looks pretty much like it did a year ago. Or maybe your world looks radically different like mine, but you still worry about the same core things. Will I end up with the partner of my dreams? Will I acquire the abundance I desire to turn my wants into reality? Am I going to realize my true potential? Maybe you worry about whether you will be able to send your children to the university you want to attend, because your current income would not support that desire. You pray, envision, affirm, and declare what you want to manifest, but in the back of your mind you don't see how it will possibly happen. And every day the high school graduation gets closer and closer. You put up vision boards and decorate in your child's preferred school's colors, but no solution seems to arise. At the core, you notice that you've changed the scenery on the outside, but the inner landscape of your thoughts, those concerns, worries, and apprehensions about the unknown, still play on repeat. Why is that? I have noticed a trend among people who have all the tools to be powerhouse creators, but don't experience the quality of life or results they desire. Worse still, many tend to blame themselves or feel inadequate for the absence of what they believe is lacking. I know I'm guilty of this. The reason my beloved partner is not here is because I am still creating some level of resistance to the manifestation of him, I might think. That sort of thing. Of course, at times the disempowering inner dialogue can sound a lot more aggressive. I'm not good enough, rich, smart, pretty, young, old, or connected enough to get what I really want. I must still be harboring feelings, beliefs, or vibrations that resonate with unworthiness, and that's why I haven't received what I desire. What if we are committing to the wrong thing? Riddle me that. What if our commitment to a desired future outcome is what holds us apart from that manifestation until we have transcended the habit of conditional expectation? When I get this, then I will trust or believe in that. The familiar tit-for-tat operating system that withholds joy, enthusiasm, gratitude, and satisfaction until all our demands are met. But what if the reason our demands are not being fulfilled is that we are being asked or prompted to commit to the now, the present? What if we are being encouraged to commit to the experience we have chosen to have before we incarnated, not the one we hoped for after we realized our infinite potential and learned about the law of attraction? The dynamic world we inhabit is the one created when all we were was infinite potential, pre-incarnation soul expression. Our eternal nature did not seek out a paradigm of non-adversity. It desired growth and created opportunities for growth through experiences. Some are uplifting, others challenging. All are useful. The way we are existing in this moment is as much a miracle and gift as the outcome upon which we are focusing all our hope. Perhaps there is another commitment we are being encouraged to make right here and now. How about committing to be the person you are rather than only committing to being yourself when you become the person you want to be? Are you ready to make that commitment, the one that includes all aspects of yourself as you are showing up right now? This is a commitment that requires you to embrace that you are already exactly as God or Source intended you to be. A commitment that revels in your perfection as you are instead of denying your divine essence until you achieved your idealized version of perfection at some point in the future. Can you commit to the life you have and the person you are right now? Are you afraid that if you did this, nothing would ever change? Do you imagine that without your constant attention and focus on the things you want and the way you are supposed to be, nothing will ever be given to you again? Certainly not anything that you want. Does this request to accept yourself and your existence as it is feel like falling into a trap of settling for less? Imagine for a minute that this dissatisfaction and disappointment reflect your opinion of yourself and your reality. Doesn't it feel safe to assume that Source would give you the time and space to evolve beyond that relationship before offering you more blessings? If you were to decide to be at peace with yourself and your life as it is now, would it secretly be just another tactic to receive something else? It's okay if parts of you are in opposition to one another. That opposition simply indicates that you are in the midst of an integration process. Thoughts like, I will accept my circumstances now so that it will change into what I want. Or, I will accept myself now so that I can be the person I envision myself to be. They can creep up and reveal this inner discord. Really look at your intentions and motivations. Listen to both sides of this inner dialogue from a place of neutrality. What do you want to commit to right now? A hoped-for future or a fulfilling present? And really think about this, because if you want to be fulfilled in your future, then you have to entrain yourself to being fulfilled in your present. Otherwise, how will you be able to manage that skill set in the future if you haven't practiced it and created the habit of it right now? These parts of yourself can mature into the wise aspects that know, if you align with the perfection of this moment in yourself, you will surely experience new and expansive realities. Your task is to model that alignment in your perception of these aspects, guiding them through the evolutionary process. The mature you doesn't do one thing to achieve another. It isn't trying to be good to receive an award or avoid being bad to reduce the likelihood of punishment. It doesn't even perceive good or bad. It commits to the present because it exists there and only there. This expression of self is aligned with its true nature in the moment. And that self knows that the nature of reality will change as it evolves. Once you are willing to commit to yourself as you are and the now as it is, you can find peace in every moment. You can commit to your daily practices, not to create someone else down the road, but to be a self-caring, self-loving, and consequently loving and caring version of you now. This is why feeling good now and being grateful for everything you possibly can think of is so powerful. But this gratitude and joy must become a way of being, not merely an exercise or practice to get what you want in the future. It must become a way of living in the world, not a task on your morning checklist. This is your moment to step up your game and bring these tools into every waking hour of your day, because this right now is your life. Any moments of discord can be felt and integrated through conscious breath. Every transformative day can be nourished with intentionally supportive habits of self-care, such as exercise, creative expression, eating nutrient-dense foods, sitting in stillness, drinking plenty of clear, blessed water, and engaging and connecting with loved ones. However, beware, all of those practices can feel like assignments to complete rather than ways to be loving to yourself and the world around you. If they are part of an agenda to prove yourself worthy to some superior figure called God so you can be rewarded with what you want. When you realize that you behave in certain ways to receive approval from a source outside of you, you can love that part of yourself as the source you are. This is the inclusive approach. There's no part of you that ever requires being condemned, rejected, or cast out. Source is loving and enveloping all aspects of self, and you can align and express as Source as well. You can envelop that aspect of your psyche with acceptance and presence, reminding yourself and this evolving consciousness that you have never been separate from the source you seek to receive from. You are, in fact, a perfect manifestation of source energy. There's an exercise at the end of this chapter that I'd like to share. It's called Be the Light. As you move through your day, bring awareness to the solidity of objects you interact with. Feel not just the softness of your pet's fur, but the bones and muscles beneath. Notice the strength and stability of the chair supporting you, the weight of a plate in your hand, and the steady presence of the floor beneath your feet. Acknowledge the sense of permanence you assign to these physical objects. Then remind yourself that everything, every item, every structure is composed almost entirely of space. What appears solid is in reality impermanent and ever-changing, much like the flickering flame of a candle. Let this realization awaken you to the creative energy that brings all things into form. Before bed, light a candle, gaze at its flame, and reflect on the nature of reality, how everything emerges from light and energy, only to return to the non-physical in time. As you blow out the candle, hold in your heart the awareness that while form may change, the essence of existence remains eternal. On these shorter chapters, I like to just transition right into the reflection and workbook material. So that's what we're going to do now. Chapter 15, entitled Commitment, is an interesting topic right now to discuss and contemplate because I wrote this book in 2016. It was published right before the pandemic happened in 2020. And a lot has happened since then, right? So when I was writing this book in my 30s, I was going through a really deep process of self-discovery. And now that I'm settled more in myself in my 40s in many ways, and I still have aspects of myself that are in massive transformation even now, the question for many of us who are oriented and designed to call forth and anchor in the new paradigm have a different relationship with commitment, because as much as it is of value to be here and now, the angst and discomfort that we feel in a system and environment that is not conducive to thriving, equality, equitability, and universal well-being is meant to be uncomfortable for us. It's meant to be unfulfilling and cause discontent, not because there's anything wrong with it, but to be a driving force forward into the new paradigm, to make action toward doing your one small part in this huge transformation that we're collectively in. And so in the chapter, I speak very candidly about committing to the present, to the now. And I think a lot of people might interpret that as being contented with the now, and being at ease in the now, and being peaceful in the now. And while that might be part of your experience when you really connect into the now, some of your experience of connecting into the now will be the understanding of what is misaligned and how it might be corrected. The drive and call you feel inside to connect with other people who also want to see change in the world the way that you want to see change, to speak it out to people who may or may not be super receptive, but as a sharing, as an expression of yourself, not necessarily as a righteous, judgmental interpretation of how they should be. Because none of us know anyone else's path. We really have no true authority over anyone else. And that is what we're seeing in the world. We're seeing how damaging giving authority over to others is to the collective, to those who receive the authority, because it distorts their sense of morality and their sense of accountability for their humanity, oftentimes, but also how damaging it is to people who are giving their authority away. The fragmentation that happens when we disempower ourselves in the hopes of achieving some end or some sense of belonging or a hoped for outcome, or even just a moment of respite. We're understanding right now that that's not what happens when we give our power away, when we give our authority away, when it's taken from us, when we allow the programming that has been inundating our cultures to override our inner knowing. So the chapter about commitment for me now in 2026 is much more about committing to the process of reclaiming and recalibrating. And like so much of this book discusses, remembering my true nature, my divine design. If I was not designed for the world the way it has been for the majority of my life, what am I designed for? And how can I go about expressing that in the world? Which is why I'm recording these chapters and putting them up on YouTube and asking people who are listening to these reflections and audiobook videos to consider themselves not as a follower and me as a leader, but more as a collaborator, a co-creator, and me as a facilitator of an opportunity for us to come together and share and create together. That's why at the end of every video, I ask you, the listener, to write a comment, to offer a sharing, to expose one of your vulnerable moments while you were listening. Because we are co-creating this new reality. It is not coming into form without that, from as far as I can know. It requires participation. And we are seeing it more and more and more. All the things that people think might be huge change agents in the world. Cryptocurrency is a perfect example. It had the potential to supersede fiat currency and override a centralized monetary system if and only if people participated in it. And if people, the masses, were not participating in it, then the select few who have the means, the knowledge, the wisdom, and the understanding, because they're on the inside track of these kinds of areas of our civilization, to acquire these resources and then to manipulate and control those resources by having them, by having the majority of them. And we see it in so many different areas of life. Amazon would be a great example of a distribution center that is wildly successful and could be entirely uplifting to our culture, so that we were not saturated with business if it wasn't a centralized business. If Amazon was a way to distribute goods and resources indiscriminately to people without one major entity being able to control and benefit the majority of those resources passing through it, it would be a wonderful example of how we can create systems to distribute resources all over the world. But because it's a centralized system, one person continues to gain more and more and more power and influence, one entity becomes more and more powerful and influential. And when it can expunge competition and eliminate businesses that might be able to do the same thing, then we have a controlling mechanism. So that's why I continue to insist that you contribute, that you participate, if not on my channel, somewhere in your life, because that's what we are being called to commit to right now. And that's why I'm talking about it in chapter 15, because what we are committing to right now holds great value in the trajectory of how things unfold in our future. And it's not about looking at the future and deciding what to commit to now. It's about looking in the now and deciding what is the most beneficial to commit to here and now in order to feel the most aligned with your divine design in this moment. So here's the reflection for chapter 15. Commitment is not about forcing life into a desired outcome. It is the willingness to meet your current reality fully, without waiting for it to improve. Many of us live in conditional devotion. When this changes, then I'll be happy. This chapter invites a deeper shift from commitment to a future version of life to devotion to the life unfolding now. True power emerges when you stop postponing your participation. And again, sometimes what we're participating in is our own process of understanding ourselves. Saying, you know what, I'd love to be happy all the time, but right now I feel really confused and I'm not going to pretend like that's not true. Or right now I feel very apathetic because I'm so overwhelmed by all the information I'm being bombarded with and all the ways that I distract myself from being still in the moment, that I don't know how to be at rest peacefully with myself. And that's true in the moment. And if we can commit to what is real and true for us in that moment, so much space opens up for clarity and momentum and peace and understanding and integration and transformation. The journal prompts for chapter 15 are: 1. Where am I waiting for external circumstances to change before I fully commit to my happiness? You could also put into there, instead of happiness, fulfillment, peace, purposefulness, well-being, ease. Where are you creating conditions that must be met before you can experience what you are reaching for? What am I postponing right now? Number 2, what conditions have I placed on my fulfillment? Ask, once I have blank, then I'll feel blank. And this is a follow-up to question number 1. Journal prompt number 3, what emotions arise when I consider accepting my life exactly as it is right now? Do you feel resistance, relief, fear, calm? Number 4, what would it mean to commit to my present self, not the improved version I'm working toward, but the one here and now? And number 5, if I stopped trying to earn worthiness, instead honored it, what would change in how I show up daily? The exercise is called Commit to the Now, and the purpose is to shift from conditional engagement to wholehearted presence. For this exercise, find a quiet space, place one hand over your heart, take 5 slow breaths, then say out loud or silently, I commit to this moment. I commit to myself as I am. I trust that I am exactly where I need to be. With each inhale, imagine acceptance expanding through your body. With each exhale, release the belief that fulfillment exists somewhere else. After a few minutes, ask yourself, what does commitment look like today in one simple action? Let it be small, let it be doable, let it be real. And remember, commitment is not control. It is not pressure. It is not self-improvement disguised as devotion. Commitment is presence without negotiation. It is the quiet decision to stop waiting. It is the end of when and the beginning of now. A quote to contemplate is, "The miracle is not to walk on water. The miracle is to walk on the green earth, dwelling deeply in the present moment and feeling truly alive." I'm grateful to share this time with you when we're talking about self-realization. It reminds me that the shift initially always happens internally. It can be catalyzed by an external stimulus, but for the most part, these massive transformations are happening within our internal awareness, within our perception of reality, within our understanding of how the world works. And all of those experiences happen in the now. That is why it's repeatedly highlighted and emphasized in so many different schools of thought. But many of those schools of thought speak about it in a sense of abandoning goals, intentions, long-term visioning, and an integrated approach is much more nourishing to the nervous system. So the balanced way of integrating both having long-term intentions, wishes, dreams, and desires you wish to fulfill, blended and coupled and carried in companionship with the present moment, is to be able to break those things down into tangible actions and tweaks in perception and availability to wisdom, discernment, and learning, growth, ultimately being a mature, individuated self, aware of your eternal nature. We have the capacity to carry all of that within us. This has been chapter 15, audiobook and reflection. If you'd like, please click the subscribe button, like the video, contribute a comment or a sharing or an insight that arose during this conversation. Even though you might not be being recorded, most of us are having an inner dialogue with the content that we are exposing ourselves to. That's why it's so powerful for us to be very intentional with the content we expose ourselves to. And we personalize it. So if you want to share what that looked like for you, please do so in the comments. And I look forward to connecting with you again. Until then, be well and enjoy the now.